Two more dominoes fall in NASCAR Cup Series silly season, and let's check out my latest NASCAR Cup Series power rankings. Welcome back to another episode of Talkin NASCAR. I'm your host, Andrew. Hope you're all having a great day. Got a lot to get to today with lots of news, lots of silly season news, and as well wrap up this episode with my NASCAR Cup Series power rankings post Pocono edition. But unfortunately, we do have to begin this episode with some sad news, as on Monday it was announced that Steve Wade passed away, a legendary figure in NASCAR media and journalism, after a long battle with cancer. Steve Wade began his NASCAR journalism and media career in 1977 at Martinsville in the Fall Martinsville race, and would continue up until 2010 when he concluded his coverage and media journalism of NASCAR, but still has since remained a very notable and very legendary figure in NASCAR, winning several awards in that regard, including the George Cunningham Award for NMPA Writer of the Year, the Henry T. McLemore Award for Outstanding Lifetime Contributions to Motorsports, being inducted into the NMPA Hall of Fame in 2014, and then most recently winning the Squire Hall Award for NASCAR Media Excellence in 2018. So truly a very legendary member of a community that I am just getting my start in with the NASCAR podcasting and NASCAR online media world as I enter my second year of covering NASCAR. So definitely a legendary member. And again, like a lot of these members of the NASCAR community that have passed away this year and over the last couple months, I truly did not get to experience many of their heyday. Kyle Busch, I mean, I was around for the tail end of his career. I did not get to witness Greg Biffle run very many races. I only got to witness him one run like three or four in 2022. Didn't get to watch much of Michael Nett's racing. Didn't get to hear Ned Jarrett, Gentleman Ned, call any races on TV or on the radio. I did not get to read any uh, of Steve Wade's works in coverage of NASCAR, but I do know that the rest of the NASCAR community does know the impact of all these incredible members of this community that have moved on, including Steve Wade. So I'll conclude by saying this, however, I do offer my thoughts and prayers to the family and friends of Steve Wade after his passing. So, Steve Wade, legendary journalist and media member of NASCAR, passed away on Monday at the age of 77. But now let's go ahead and move on to some other news that broke today. And no, it's not the big news. It was something that happened literally probably, an hour ago and not earlier this morning. But, anyways, Jimmy Johnson will be joining TNT's NASCAR coverage at Sonoma, North Wilkesboro, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Indy 500. So TNT, in their second year of covering NASCAR for the 5-race in-season challenge, already they added Marty Smith as a pre and post race host for the 5 races. Jimmy Johnson will be joining Dale Earnhardt Jr., Steve Letarte, Jamie McMurray will also be covering these 5 races. Jeff Burton will be as well as studio analyst for Chicagoland and Atlanta as well. Adam Alexander as well included in that broadcast booth. So already a pretty well-rounded, I would say, broadcast booth that TNT has for their NASCAR coverage this year with, again, Adam Alexander, Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, Jamie McMurray, now Jimmy Johnson for a couple races, Marty Smith as the pre and post race coverage host. So really exciting to see Jimmy Johnson getting some more looks in the broadcast booth now with TNT. Next up, Kaz Grala will be racing this weekend in the Craftsman Truck Series with Halmar Friesen Racing in the number 62 truck. Kaz Gralla, a veteran road racer, well experienced road racer, last competed in NASCAR a little over 9 months ago in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Actually got a top 10, and since then he has been Legacy Motor Club's full-time sim driver. So it's not like Kaz Gralla has just been sitting around just waiting for his next opportunity. No, though he's been racing a little bit, doing some work for Legacy Motor Club, another Toyota team. So cool to see Kaz Gralla returning to the seat of a NASCAR stock car this weekend in San Diego in the Truck Series. Next up, we'll be having a new milestone to talk about after this weekend in San Diego, and it's not going to be in the NASCAR Cup Series most likely. It will be in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series as Jeremy Clements this weekend in San Diego will make his 548th career NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series start, passing Kenny Wallace, the previous record holder with 547 career NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series starts. And yeah, Jeremy Clements has been doing this a long time, racing in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series with his own cell phone team, Jeremy Clements Racing in the 51. He's had some up and downs, but he's been able to make it into the playoffs in previous years. He, I believe, won a race back in 2022, I believe, at Atlanta, I believe, and or I think it was actually at Daytona, excuse me, and that got him into the playoffs, which was a humongous moment for that small team, but a long time coming for Jeremy Clements. So, very cool to hear. A very cool milestone for Jeremy Clements. And this is coming off the heels of some pretty impressive milestones from Denny Hamlin in the Cup Series this weekend in Pocono, which I somehow forgot to mention when I was covering the Pocono race on Monday, which was that Denny Hamlin passed Kyle Busch for ninth all time on the all times wins list with 69 career victories, passing Kyle Busch, who has 68, and Denny Hamlin going three in a row Cup Series wins for him. And not to overshadow Jeremy Clements in any way, which what Jeremy Clements is doing is very impressive to say the least. So, congratulations to Jeremy Clements. We'll be gladly watching that this weekend. I will be watching the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race on Saturday. So, I can't wait to see more history broken in NASCAR with Jeremy Clements and his all-time leading career NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series start on Saturday. And now we get to the really big silly season news that a lot of you probably clicked on this episode of Talkin NASCAR for, or played it wherever you are, how you're listening. I don't know, actually. But anyways, the two big news that broke both yesterday and today. We'll start with yesterday's. Chris Buscher signed a contract extension with RFK Racing, a multi-year contract extension with RFK Racing. And then earlier this morning, on Wednesday, Jesse Love and the Wood brothers announced that Jesse would be going full-time racing in the NASCAR Cup Series in the 21 next season. All right, let's break down Chris Buscher's first. Chris Buscher obviously having a phenomenal season with RFK Racing. He's leading the team out of those three drivers, out of Buscher, Keselowski, and Priest. He's currently the top driver, currently sitting inside the top 10 in points. Does not have a win yet this year. He's on a bit of a winless streak, hasn't won since 2024, but still, Chris Buscher in the top 10 pretty much every single week. And it's weird to see him not up and even inside the top 15 when he's having a bad day. And even though there were some rumors floating around recently that Buscher was being heavily targeted and pursued by two top teams in the Cup Series, potentially one being Legacy Motor Club and the other possibly being Penske or the Wood Brothers, I'm going to combine those possibly as just one because the Wood Brothers operate out of the Penske shop, so they're a satellite team of Penske. So there could be a potential like a lease deal or development deal with Buscher, something like that. But at the end of the day, Chris Buscher will be sticking around with RFK Racing at least for the next two seasons. But Chris Buscher, overall this season, his stock has risen as a free agent after a really good start to the year, which has endured up until this point. He's been very, very solid, like I've already mentioned. And it would be a no-brainer for any team to be heavily pursuing him. And it's a no-brainer for RFK Racing to say, yeah, we want you to be a part of this team for many more years to come, and be possibly the foundational piece if Brad Keselowski does retire very soon, because we don't know how many years Brad Keselowski has left in the NASCAR Cup Series. So for both Buscher and RFK Racing, I think this is a really good move for both sides. Buscher gets to stay in a familiar situation that he's been with for basically a little bit over 10 years now because he won an O'Reilly Auto Parts Series championship with this team a couple, maybe like about a decade ago. He's won several races with this team. He spent a lot of time outside this organization with JTG Doherty Racing in a one-off year with Front Row. Then he returned to RFK Racing, which was back then just Roush Racing before Keselowski invested in the team before 2022. But even in since then, Buscher has had a lot of success with this team since Brad Keselowski has entered as an owner of Roush Racing. So it truly was just a no-brainer of a move for both sides to come back together and continue this partnership that they have going right now. And I do have a little bit more to say on RFK overall as a team, which I'll get to in just a second after I talk about Jesse Love, which this is an interesting move for both the Wood brothers and Jesse Love. So we'll start by talking about this from Jesse Love's side. For Jesse Love, this is an opportunity for him to go Cup Series racing and get some exposure, get some more experience in the next gen car. He's made a handful of starts for Chevrolet teams, mostly with RCR and with Beard Motorsports most recently. And he would most likely be the guy that would go Cup Series racing to fill Kyle Busch's seat in the interim after Busch passed away. But Austin Hill has that seat because most of the sponsors that Jesse Love or is on that 33 car are mostly more like advanced adult age products, nicotine and alcohol and restaurants and insurance. So they're not really sponsors that, they would want Jesse Love being the driver of the car with their brands and name on the side of the door. And that's probably also a huge reason why Jesse Love is obviously not going to race for RCR next season in the Cup Series because those sponsors don't want Jesse Love driving for their organization and for their company. And the other thing for Jesse Love with this move to the Wood brothers is this could be a potential Penske pipeline move for Jesse Love because Penske in the past, like I've said several times on the show already, have a history of putting their development guys in this 21 car so they can get Cup Series experience and develop a little bit more. And once they're ready and once Penske has an open seat ready, they can move him into that seat. Like guys, for example, Ryan Blaney, who spent a few years with Penske before moving over, or excuse me, with the Wood brothers before moving over to the Team Penske number 12. I think we could be seeing a similar thing here with Jesse Love, who may move into the two car once Austin Cindric has run his course in that two car. If Penske wants to get some more youth in that seat with Jesse Love and potentially a guy with a little bit higher ceiling. So long term for Jesse Love, this could be a really good move for him. And for the short term, gives him some exposure and some Cup Series experience as well. And I know as well Jesse Love was also being linked to Legacy Motor Club and their third full-time car, the 84 car, which will be debuting next season. But it does sound like that Legacy is pursuing Riley Herbst a little bit more than Jesse Love, just because probably Riley does bring a bigger checkbook. He brings more sponsors with him with Monster Energy and the Terrible Herbst brand, which I get it. It's the reason why 2311 Racing went after Riley Herbst and put him in that 35 car initially is because Riley Herbst would pay the bills for that brand new 35 car and that new charter that 2311 Racing just bought. And it's a similar thing here with Legacy Motor Club. Riley Herbst, he brings the sponsorship money. He's going to be the guy that basically pays off this investment. And eventually, Riley Herbst is probably going to be a guy that gets replaced by a higher end prospect in the Toyota system, like potentially uh, a Caden Honeycutt if he chooses to go Cup Series racing eventually, which I think Caden Honeycutt is a legitimate Toyota prospect at this current moment. If Taylor Gray shows improvement, if William Sawalich shows some more improvement, if Legacy Motor Club finds another guy that they really want to put in that car, maybe like a Harrison Burton down the line potentially, maybe like a Sam Mayer potentially down the road as well. If he's still waiting in the wings, waiting for his Cup Series opportunity, maybe like another top end prospect that emerges down the line eventually. But it does seem like in the short term, Jesse Love was not the first option for Legacy Motor Club. He could potentially be a guy that Legacy looks to bring in after Riley Herbst has, used that sponsorship money to pay off that third charter investment. But I do think that is still a couple seasons down the road from where we are right now. Now, as for the Wood brothers, I don't know what this necessarily gives them both short term and long term, because I just listed what a long term solution for Jesse Love might be, which might end up being a Team Penske ride in the two car eventually. I don't know. That could be a path that Jesse Love is on, but at the same time, Jesse could be the guy that sticks with the Wood brothers for long term. So I'm not entirely sure about that. And for next year in the Cup Series for the Wood brothers, I'm not expecting Jesse Love to do much better than what Josh Berry has done so far this year. I mean, Berry and the 21 team are currently outside of the top 30 in points. It's been a miserable season. They only have one win with Berry. They had one win with Harrison Burton in 3 years. They've had one with Josh Berry in 2 years. I said they had one win with Berry twice. They only had one win with Harrison Burton in 3 years. So this is definitely a interesting move by the Wood brothers, and I do truly think that this may be a Penske move where they bring Jesse Love up and give him some Cup Series experience with a team that has gonna have pretty much zero expectations heading into his rookie season after they had a disappointing year with Josh Berry, and eventually move him into a full-time Penske car, move him in in organization, I should say, because they'll technically still be in house. Because again, the Wood brothers are a satellite team now of Team Penske. So I don't know exactly what the future for Jesse Love or for the future of what the Wood brothers may look like, but I can be a little bit more certain of that. I don't think Jesse Love is going to do a whole lot more than what Josh Berry is doing this year as a Cup Series rookie, and with the current state of that team, I'm not expecting a lot from Josh Berry. However, I have seen this narrative pop up recently about the Ford and the Wood brothers and moving on from Josh Berry, and they've been pretty similar. In is that it's not the driver's fault, Josh Berry, which I do think, to be honest, Josh Berry is a replaceable driver. He's not, he doesn't have the same top end ceiling that a guy like Jesse Love does, but he's a guy that has Cup Series experience and does have a win under his belt in the Cup Series at Las Vegas. He is a proven winner, and given the right car, Josh Berry can succeed. But right now, the Wood brothers and Ford overall, and even Team Penske as well, they are not in a position to be contending teams right now. I mean, Ryan Blaney is the top four team in the Cup Series, currently sitting inside the top 10, even in the top five as well. And then you got Chris Buscher and RFK. Buscher is doing really good. Well, Keselowski just fell outside of the top, out of the chase standings. And then Ryan Preece has been on a rough stretch of races as of late. Meanwhile, Cindric and Logano are barely in the chase conversation. Like, Cindric is just barely in the chase. Logano is still in the conversation, but Joey Logano is a champion. Joey Logano should be a guy that is in the chase and even in contention for the championship, especially in an even number year, guys. Come on. So, do I think replacing Josh Berry with Jesse Love is a better move, is a good move overall? I would say so. I do think it is because Josh Berry, again, doesn't have the ceiling of someone like Jesse Love. At the same time, however, I am thinking Jesse Love may not be the long-term guy with the team because Penske might swoop in and say, "Okay, you've done your job, you've developed him, you've given him experience. Now we're gonna put him in one of our cars. You can have whoever. You can figure it out later." And that is what the Wood brothers have done for the last, I don't know, 7, 8 years since Ryan Blaney was put in a Penske car. They put Paul Menard in that car. They put Matt DiBenedetto in that car. Didn't work. They put Harrison Burton in that car. Didn't work. And then they put Josh Berry in that car, and it hasn't worked. And I think we're seeing something similar with Jesse Love. He could maybe be going a Harrison Burton route, unfortunately, or he could be going the Ryan Blaney route where he does really well, but then gets swooped away and put in a Penske car. That may be the way things are shaping up for the Wood brothers. And it is a shame to see for such a legendary organization like the Wood brothers with so many amazing names as drivers to be in that seat of that car for so many years that they've been around. The point of all this is what I'm saying is that Jesse Love may not be the long-term guy, and it really does raise into question if Josh Berry, him losing his ride over something that may not be entirely out of his control, who is, again, a proven winner in the Cup Series, a proven short track ace in the Cup Series, Meanwhile, this year has not been able to even sniff the top 20 on any single track this year, is probably something that falls more on the manufacturer and the team overall, and not the driver, Josh Berry. But I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about this Jesse Love hire from the Wood brothers? Do you think it's a good move? Do you think it's a bad move? I want to hear your overall thoughts on this move. So sound off in the comments below what you think. And one more thing I do want to talk about before we get into the power rankings part of the show, which will be coming up to round out the show. I do want to talk about Ryan Preece real quick, because the reason I do is because Ryan Preece was another name that was linked to the 21 car of the Wood brothers, or even Penske as another Ford team. That was a rumor that was beginning to pop up, and a possibility as well. Could RFK lose Ryan Preece because that third car that Ryan Preece is driving now will be an uncharted entry next season? Kroger might leave, and Ryan Preece is on an expiring contract with RFK. So all of that was happening. Meanwhile, Buscher might leave, Preece might leave now. So RFK was put in a little bit of an interesting situation. And a couple weeks ago, RFK did say that they will run a third full-time car next season, no doubt. So I imagine at that point they had already figured out that, yes, we'll bring Chris Buscher back, and we'll probably have a third entry with Ryan Preece, because there's no signs of him leaving yet. So I do wonder still, is Ryan Preece still looking at other options outside of RFK, or other teams looking at Ryan Preece at this current moment? Because Legacy Motor Club still hasn't officially filled their seat yet, even though it is, been made clear that they are pursuing Riley Herbst at this current moment. We still really don't know what Penske is doing with their number 2 car at this current moment, because Austin Cindric is having, an okay season. It's not what the Team Penske standard usually is, which is being a consistent winner and being in the top 10 in points, but at the same time, he's beating a champion of Joey Logano. So right now, I'm not quite sure what to think about Ryan Preece and his situation at this current moment. I do think the most likely outcome is that Preece sticks with RFK, runs a third uncharted entry for the entire season. Cindric remains with Penske in the 2 car, or Penske finds someone else besides Preece, and pretty much that's what I think, really. Long term, I do think RFK does find a third entry for next year, and I've heard maybe that the Wood brothers, like I've speculated, and I've heard other people speculate that the Wood brothers may look to sell this charter because they've just been spinning their tires in the mud for the last couple years, the last 6 years at this point now. So we could be looking at that potentially as what the RFK team may look for as a potential charter investment, because the Wood brothers they haven't been moving forward or backward. They've just been kind of stuck in the same place for the last 6 years. So that's an interesting thought. What could the long-term solution be? What could the short-term solution be for RFK and Preece? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But now it is time to move on to the final segment of today's show, my NASCAR Cup Series Power Rankings, post-Pocono edition, heading into San Diego. Let's go ahead and check them out. I've got to begin with 2 honorable mentions real quick. First, I got Christopher Bell. He had back-to-back weeks of top 5 finishes, both runner-up to Daniel Suarez and to Denny Hamlin, his teammate, both at Charlotte and Nashville. Last 2 weeks, though, have not been nearly as nice to Christopher Bell. Unfortunately, had that massive wreck at Michigan, and then this weekend at Pocono, tried to stretch it on field, but unfortunately could not quite stretch it all the way, finished outside the top 25. So Bell's had speed in the last 3 out of the last 4 racetracks. Michigan was up inside the top 5 when he got involved in that crash. Finished, obviously, inside the top 5 at Nashville. Finished top 5 at Charlotte. This weekend at Pocono, I don't know exactly if he had top 5 speed, but trying to play a little bit of pit strategy, trying to be aggressive to get that first win. I just don't know if he's ready to be in my top 10. Some other guys, though, definitely had better weeks than Bell, so I got him as an honorable mention. And then the other guy is Daniel Suarez. He didn't have a bad race overall. He finished outside the top 10, finishing in 13th, but he had really good speed this week as well. Was in a group with Elliott and Briscoe, who on that last field run could not quite, work their way up to the top and inside the top 5 quite like Denny Hamlin could. So they kind of got mired back in traffic and outside the top top 10. But still, Suarez has had a really good stretch of races ever since that win at Charlotte in the Coca-Cola 600. Had a strong weekend at Michigan, but this weekend at Pocono can't put him back up inside the top 10 because some guys just really have had some really good momentum and really good races over the last few weeks. So Daniel Suarez and Bell are my 2 honorable mentions this week after Pocono. But beginning my top 10, at number 10, I have William Byron. It is my first time since the Bristol Power Rankings that William Byron is back inside my top 10. It's been a minute since Willie B has been inside the top 10. So welcome back, William Byron. These last 5 races have been a really good stretch. The last 4 races have been a really good stretch for William Byron. Charlotte finished inside the top 10. Nashville had top 10 speed, even top 5 speed, I think, as well, but unfortunately got caught up in a wreck. Michigan played a little bit of fuel strategy to get up inside the top 10. Unfortunately, couldn't save enough fuel, but he had the speed, I think, to contend with guys like Hamlin and Elliott in that race. And then this weekend at Pocono, finally gets a full race together, puts it all together to get a top 5 with a 3rd place finish at Pocono, And we're heading to a road course in San Diego. A really good track type for William Byron. He's always very strong on road courses. He's a very good road course racer. Might this be the week that we see William Byron get his first win of the season? We'll have to wait and see on that front. But Byron, he's had a lot of speed these last 4 weeks. I'm liking what he's been showing me, so I can't wait to see what he'll do in San Diego on the streets at Naval Base Coronado. So I got Byron at 10. At number 9, I have Chris Buscher back inside the top 10 after a couple bad weeks in Nashville and Charlotte. These last 2 weekends in Michigan and Pocono, he's really rebounded. Back-to-back top 10s, still maintaining a top 10 position in the point standings at this current moment. And he had a really good Pocono. I mean, he got some stage points. Stage 1 ended up in top 5 conversation. So it was a really good weekend for Chris Buscher in terms of stage points. And he had the Xfinity fastest lap as well in Pocono, which I don't think I've seen very much out of that 17 team. So, like I already mentioned, he is leading the way for RFK. He's been extremely consistent. So back inside the top 10, Chris Buscher goes at 9. At number 8, finally, I got Eric Jones back up inside the top 10. I've been wanting so bad to put Eric Jones inside the top 10 of my power rankings because I've loved the speed that Eric Jones has shown, and finally I can at this point because back-to-back top 10s, coming off a top 5 at Michigan where he may have been the best car outside of Denny Hamlin and was running him down, and then at Pocono as well with a 6th place. It's been a really good stretch of races for Eric Jones, and his teammate as well was very, very solid. Nashville and Charlotte too, both just outside the top 10 in 13th and 11th. I mean, Eric Jones, he's had good speed in those races too. He was up inside the top 10 for a majority of that race in Charlotte, fell outside the top 10 late in the going, and then same thing in Nashville. He looked very good as well. Now, I don't know if Eric Jones is going to remain inside the top 10 after San Diego because I don't think of Eric Jones as an extremely proficient road course racer. I think of it as, guys like Daniel Suarez and Bell are a little bit better, so I could see Eric Jones falling outside of the top 10 after this week, but still, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Eric Jones these last 4 weeks. And not to mention, Dover, he finished 3rd place. So these last 5 races for Eric Jones, even though, Dover was an all-star race, it felt like a points race. Eric Jones has found something these last 5 weeks. So I've been really impressed. I have him at number 8 heading into San Diego. Next up at number 7, I have Ryan Blaney, down 1 spot, but still, Ryan Blaney has been extremely consistent. He's 3rd in points at this current moment, and these last 4 finishes have been a 7th, an 8th, an 8th, and a 10th at Pocono, which has been his worst finish and still was a top 10. His average finish in these last 4 races are roughly about an 8, which is very, very good. It's a top 10 average finish these last 4 races. Very solid stuff from Ryan Blaney. It's just I have to bump him down because some of the guys in front of him just had better races overall, but still, Blaney heading into San Diego, the site where he, won back the San Diego street race from the Navy. If you watch the NASCAR versus Navy mini movie, you'll know, but still, Blaney, very consistent, kind of like Chris Buscher, just, he's able to lead a little bit more laps. So I'm liking Ryan Blaney as well. I have him at number 7, down 1 spot. Now at number 6, up 1 spot, I have Ty Gibbs. And while Ty Gibbs hasn't been as consistent as Ryan Blaney, still finds himself in the 5th place position in points. These last 4 races have been a little bit up and down. I mean, he got a 6th at Charlotte, 13th at Nashville, was the worst out of the 4 JGR cars, but still very solid overall. Michigan got caught up in a wreck, finished 25th, and then rebounded for a top 10 at Pocono. And the reason I do have Gibbs one spot ahead of Ryan Blaney is that, one, he did have a better finish than Blaney, and two, I do think Ty Gibbs is a better road racer than Ryan Blaney. So I'm looking forward to San Diego. I'm not choosing Blaney over Ty Gibbs in this scenario right now. So I do have Ty Gibbs at this current moment at number 6, but in a blink of an eye, I could see these two just swapping right back to where they were after Michigan last week. So I still got Ty Gibbs at 6. We'll see how long this lasts, but we'll have to wait and see. At number 5, I got Chase Briscoe, and even though the finish wasn't amazing for him at Pocono, finished 12th outside the top 10, he had a top 5 starting position in 5th place and earned a hefty amount of stage points in this one. Finished 4th in stage 1 and then finished 2nd in stage 2. I mean, he earned a lot of stage points, and it's a big help to him, especially when he's a guy that I still don't think is entirely safe when it comes to the Chase bubble. Currently 12th in points right now, but these last 3 races for him, not including Charlotte, because Charlotte was a rough one for him. 3rd place in Nashville, 10th at Michigan, and then 12th at Pocono, even though he definitely had a top 10 car, I would say. Maybe even a top 5 car this weekend at Pocono. So Briscoe, last 3 races have been pretty solid for him. We'll see if he can continue that on a road course in San Diego. At number 4, I got Kyle Larson. Had another really solid weekend in Pocono, top 5 once again after starting on the front row with Denny Hamlin. Last 2 races for him have both been top 5s, 4th at Michigan, 5th at Pocono. Nashville was a little bit of a rough one, finishing outside the top 20, but he did have a final lap crash where he kind of got stuffed into the wall, but he was running up inside the top 10, so speed-wise, Larson has been there. Finish-wise, a little bit up and down as of late, but still pretty solid, and had a top 5 at Charlotte as well. So overall, if you're looking at it without that crash on the final lap at Nashville, Larson is looking at 4 straight top 10s, maybe 4 straight top 10s, maybe 4 straight top 5s if Larson's able to hold on to those positions. And now, Kyle Larson's heading back to his hometown in California. He grew up in Elk Grove. He didn't grow up in San Diego, but it's his home track pretty much because we don't really race out in California that much anymore. And I don't think Sonoma is truly, really even close to where he lives. So, home track for San Diego, hometown race for him. It's going to be exciting for him. Maybe he'll get his first win of the season and break that winless streak on a road course in San Diego. At number 3, I still have Chase Elliott. Similar to Chase Briscoe, he had really good speed this weekend. Qualified a little bit more in the mid-pack, but was able to work his way up inside the top 10, able to get some stage points in Stage 2. Stage 1, he pitted with Denny Hamlin, he pitted early in Stage 1 to play a little bit of pit strategy, but was still able to get some stage points in Stage 2, and looked like he might be able to get a good finish, but on that final run, similar to Briscoe and Suarez, could not work their way forward like Hamlin, but even still, I think Chase Elliott had some pretty solid speed under the hood of that number 9 Chevrolet. He had a pretty solid weekend going at Michigan last weekend until he got caught up in that massive wreck. Nashville finished inside the top 10 with a little bit of pit strategy as well, and then we didn't really get to see what he had at Charlotte, but even still, last 3 races have been extremely solid for Chase Elliott. However, I do think Kyle Larson is knocking on the door of that 3rd place spot in my power rankings at this current moment, but I'm still going to give it to Chase Elliott at this current moment. He's a good road racer. We'll see how he does on the streets of San Diego this weekend. And at number 2, I still got Tyler Reddick. Wasn't nearly, on the same level as Denny Hamlin was this weekend. His points gap has shrank to only 19 points above Denny Hamlin, and it's been a bit of a rough stretch for Tyler Reddick, I would say. A rough stretch, being that he just hasn't scored many stage points. He finished top 5 here at Pocono with Denny Hamlin. Michigan last week was his worst race of the year, Nashville and Charlotte both finished up inside the top 10. 4th at Charlotte, 6th at Nashville, but still lost a whole lot of points because Denny Hamlin has won 3 straight races. So Reddick, he's been good. He just hasn't been the level of the guy that's been at number 1, though. And the guy, of course, at number 1 is Denny Hamlin. I mean, he started on pole. He played the strategy correctly with his crew chief of Chris Gale. He's won 3 straight races. He's eaten into that ginormous points gap that Tyler Reddick had heading into Nashville, and is now only down to 19 points. 3 straight wins has been absolutely incredible for Denny Hamlin. And then at Charlotte as well, he had a top 5 in 3rd place. And then don't forget Dover, he won that one as well. So, hey, it's been absolutely insane what Denny Hamlin has been able to do these last few weeks. Ever since that All-Star win, he has been on an absolute tear. Even in Texas as well. Finished top 5, only behind Chase Elliott. So, yeah. Denny Hamlin's on a hot streak. He absolutely deserves to be number 1 in the power rankings after Pocono. So, quick run through after Pocono for the power rankings. Number 1, still Denny Hamlin. 2, Tyler Reddick. 3, Chase Elliott. 4, Kyle Larson. 5, Chase Briscoe. 6, Ty Gibbs. 7, Ryan Blaney. 8, Eric Jones. 9, Chris Buscher. And 10, William Byron, with the honorable mentions being Christopher Bell and Daniel Suarez. And that is all I have for you guys in this episode of Talkin NASCAR. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. If you did, make sure you follow the show so you never miss another episode. If you like what I'm doing over here, go check out Talking Sports with Miles and Andrew. I'll have a link to that down in the description below. So thank you all so much for listening. I'm Andrew Volkman, and I'll see you in the next episode of Talkin NASCAR.